Are you experiencing a spiritual awakening? Have you begun to question aspects of your personality or behavior patterns that you've noticed within yourself? Have you begun to get curious about your emotions, thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, and why they arise? Have you begun to question the suffering in the world and wonder why it exists? Have you begun to question why society operates the way it operates and why some countries have one form of government versus why others have other forms? Have you begun to connect to an aspect of yourself that is more curious and compassionate and wants to collaborate more with others towards the common good of all? If you answered yes to one or more of these questions, or if you answer yes to questions of a similar vein, then you may be experiencing a spiritual awakening. In this video, I will explore in depth what a spiritual awakening is and how you begin the process of navigating your own hero's journey, which is the words that I use to describe the process of awakening. So, what is a spiritual awakening? There are many people out there in the world today, especially on social media, who are talking about being awakened or being awake or being spiritual or a mass awakening on the planet or spiritual awakening. And today I thought I would add to the conversation and break it down the way that I understand it based on my own hero's journey. If you've been watching my videos, I've shared a little bit about some of the mystical experiences I've had and about the moment in my life that I began my own spiritual awakening and my own hero's journey. So a spiritual awakening is any time that you begin to question who you are. It is any time you begin to become aware of the aspects of yourself that perhaps cause you or others suffering or harm. It is any time you begin to get curious about why you feel the way you feel, why you think the thoughts that you think, why you believe the beliefs that you believe, why you behave the way you behave. And you begin to wonder if there's something in your unconscious that maybe needs to be healed or integrated, and you desire to deepen your understanding of yourself so that you can step more into your wholeness. It is when you begin to recognize that human beings all want the same things, that we all desire to have our basic needs met. We all need food and water and shelter and love, and we all want to be authentic, and we all want to be safe, and we all want to contribute to the collective in a way that is meaningful and unique to ourselves, and we want to be respected and accepted for the ways that we show up. These desires are sometimes criticized by those that are not yet comfortable questioning themselves, and sometimes they are considered negative. However, they are necessary for humans' evolution. The ability to understand ourselves and have self-awareness is called emotional intelligence. It's called emotional maturity. And it is the process of individuation, which Carl Jung calls the process of returning to wholeness. It is the process of self-actualization, which Maslow, who was another psychologist, described is the process that human beings undergo to return to wholeness. There are many spiritual traditions that have their own way of explaining how to be a good human being and how to engage in the world in more compassionate ways. Psychology obviously has its own way of trying to help you heal and integrate your unconscious, which are the aspects of yourself that you don't understand. And even neuroscience is beginning to show that the brain, when we have unhealed aspects of ourselves, isn't functioning in the most ideal way and can have aspects of the brain that are not fully formed and developed. So there's really a lot of evidence that suggests that being self-aware or spiritually awakened is where we're all headed. How do you approach your own spiritual path, your own spiritual awakening? And do you even have to call it a spiritual awakening? I think there are some individuals on the path of spiritual awakening that don't want to consider spirituality as a core of themselves because they have seen the damage that religion or spiritual practices have caused in the world. If you look at the history of society, you will see that spiritual practices and religion have led to many wars and many genocides and many forms of oppression within our world as a way of justifying that religion is the path to being a good human being. In my upcoming book, The Divine Within, Healing Ourselves to Heal the World, I explore the similarities between spiritual traditions and what their core teachings actually are. And I suggest that because human beings have unhealed wounds, that in some spiritual traditions and religion, there are wounds that actually distort the truth of what it means to spiritually awaken or what it means to integrate and return to wholeness. Psychology also has many paths to integration of healing, and I explore those paths in my book as well. Not all religions, not all spiritual paths, not all healing modalities, but some, and the similarities in those psychological theories that also are similar to the spiritual ideas in some religions and spiritual practices. And I also explore the neuroscience benefits. And the commonality that I have seen in all three of these is mindfulness, that the process of slowing down, the process of observing your inner world, which is your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your body sensations, and your behavior choices, is the path to self-awareness and the path to healing and integration. I call the process of being the observer the hero's journey, that as you begin to get curious about yourself and understand why you believe what you believe, why you feel what you feel, why you behave the way you behave, why you think what you think, you begin to recognize that some of those ways of engaging in the world actually cause you and others harm. And you begin to realize that it comes from a core belief somewhere in your unconscious that implies that you are either not loved, not good enough, not worthy. You have to somehow prove your worth to be loved, to be accepted, or that you're somehow not a part of the whole and you're not good enough. And these, I believe, are the core wounds of humanity, and they are what separate us from our healed state or our wholeness, which I call the inner compass. So the hero's journey, or the path of spiritual awakening, is to bring the light to these aspects of yourself that are unknown, to understand why they are the way they are, to reparent them in a way that is loving and nurturing, and to integrate so that you find paths to getting your needs and boundaries met that are more helpful to yourself and cause the least amount of harm to others, so that we can respect each other's free will and autonomy and collaborate towards solutions that benefit all of us. If you found this explanation of spiritual awakening to be helpful, I hope you'll consider reading my upcoming book, The Divine Within, Healing Ourselves to Heal the World. I hope you'll consider going to my website, Blossoming Heart Wellness, and subscribing to my newsletter so that you can receive updates about the book, updates about videos that I post, blogs that I post, as well as updates about a course that I'm creating called The Divine Within, Healing Ourselves to Heal the World, which is based on my book, but we'll go into more depth of how to engage in your own healing journey, which I call the hero's journey. My upcoming book does offer about 36 exercises that are mindfulness and somatic exercises to help you begin your own spiritual awakening and path to healing. Sending you such deep love and appreciation. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being curious about not only what I offer, but how this might relate to your own healing and return to wholeness. I love the ways that you show up in your inner divinity and the ways that you express yourself. So Thank you for being you. And thank you for beginning your own path. Sending you deep love and appreciation.